Gina Carano's social media followers surged by 300,000 after Disney firing. Well, anybody who doesn't know about what's happening with Gina Carano, the overarching view, I'm going to try to make as simple as possible or as streamlined as possible, is that Gina Carano was and is an actress. She had multiple gigs in Fast and the Furious 6, I believe, Deadpool 1, I think in Deadpool 2 as well, but Deadpool 1, and she was on The Mandalorian with the Disney Plus The Mandalorian series for both season 1 and 2. She had an upcoming gig for her own spin-off show, and since her tweets, she's been rather quote-unquote problematic to the company Disney, since she's been vocal about pointing and poking at the Twitterazzi that I'm just calling, pointing out the ridiculousness of the Twitterazzi. And we're going to go through some of those tweets as well, of what they mention, of what she was posting, why her firing, and the current backlash of what's happening from firing Gina Carano. So Gina Carano's social media followers surged by 300,000 after the Disney firing. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I had I looked this up just to confirm it. So I went to Social Blade. Anybody who doesn't know what that is, you could go to any social media site, or at least the ones that are mentioned, right here from TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Dailymotion, etc. And you can look up the progress of followers tick by tick, day by day, of certain people. Gina Carano on Twitter, I looked up, she has a B rating or whatever, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is down here, all these numbers. In 2000, what was it, the 9th was Thursday, she got 9 subscribers. Wednesday, she got 61 subscribers. Thursday, she got 30,000 subscribers. On Friday, today, wait, is it today? Yeah, it's today. Today, she's so far gotten, and we're in the middle of the day, 133,000 subscribers to her Twitter account. That's ridiculously awesome. That's funny. So yes, Gina Carano has gotten a lot of followers. Doesn't mean that there's a lot of supporters. Does not necessarily mean that. It's just that a lot of people are now swarming to Gina Carano. She is sort of the hub of conversation within entertainment as of right now. So you're probably going to see a lot of more about Gina Carano over the coming months, probably the next 6 months in particular. For myself, I don't follow her. I don't have a Twitter. I hope things go well for her. As an actress, she's pretty average, I would say. I haven't seen most of her content, and if anything, she's been pretty I would say pretty solid, not just average, but pretty solid with her acting. That's what I've seen. Nothing really breaks character for me from what I've seen. Just wishing her best of luck. Disney Plus ended in 2020 with 95 million subscribers. Because Mandalorian is exclusively with Disney Plus had a massive exodus, or there was some buzz around that. We'll get some numbers in the coming weeks, if not the coming months, for what happened with firing of Gina Carano. There's some hypocrisy with her having posted a bunch of Twitter posts, and Pedro Pascal, hopefully I have his name correct, the star of The Mandalorian, has been also posting a bunch of stuff, especially calling out MAGA people who voted for Donald Trump, as all racists and Nazis and bigots and white supremacists and such. He has now he's now getting employment with HBO's The Last of Us, which is rather ridiculous because The Last of Us 2 video game is incredibly divisive, like 50-50 split with the fans. They could have had, spoiler warning with The Last of Us 2, they could have had Joel die. Him dying is never the issue. It's how he dies. It's why he dies. It's what happens from his death. Game of Thrones Season 8 is a great example as to you can have millions of people across the board who come together who across the aisle, politically, religiously, spiritually, whatever, who disagree on almost everything, loving a Game of Thrones TV show for 6 to 7 years, even though there's some disagreements with season 7 specifically, and a lot of them were guessing what was going to come from this, knowing, oh, if this is the direction they're going, it's not going to go well with season 8. Season 8 dropped with Game of Thrones. Nobody I have ever heard of, ever seen, ever talked to, ever watched Game of Thrones series during the pandemic. Nobody cares to watch the series anymore because of how it ended. How they handled how somebody died, or what happened here, what happened there, why did they do this. Season 8 ruined the entire franchise because of how it was managed, how the deaths occurred specifically. You could have it with the White Queen going crazy and nuts with her dragon. It was out of context. It was way too sudden. They were using narration to streamline and quicken the process of, okay, she's crazy now, and then she goes and kills people. You could have done that over 2 seasons and allowed everybody who was watching, like, okay, yeah, of course this is what would happen because we've seen this and this and this and this and this and this. Not just because you want it to happen that way so we can end the entire series. Same thing with Disney Plus. It's not an issue as to whether or not someone gets fired. What the issue is right now with Disney Plus having fired Gina Carano is not firing Gina Carano based off her tweets, is that she was eliminated from Hollywood. Her agent dropped her. She was dropped from 2 productions, one with The Mandalorian and another one was going to be a spin-off show with herself being the main star. She was cut off from that. But Pedro Pascal, who's the main actor of the show, was calling out MAGA supporters and calling them all racists and bigots and homophobes and Nazis. He's allowed to continue with more work, more jobs, more employment within Hollywood. It's the double standard that's the issue. It's not that Gina Carano was fired. It's that there's a double standard with the employment process, and people who speak out against one thing or another, people who defend one thing or another, are treated differently within the industry, within entertainment as a whole. You could attribute that to education. You can, like 90% of all college professors are left-leaning individuals. So the culture of conservatism on campus is non-existent, and those conservatives have to keep quiet, else they might face an issue with their being fired and their pension. Same thing within entertainment. Now, the current modern-day culture of also politics. Who owns the House? Who owns the Senate? Who owns the presidency? The legislator, the judicial, and man, I am so buzzing on what the word is. If you put the words in front of me, I would so guess them, but right now I'm making myself look like a fool. The legislator, the judicial, and the executive. There we go. The legislative, executive, and judicial. There we go. Those 3 houses right now are all left-leaning. The judicial with the Supreme Court, not just the House and the House and the Senate, but the judicial with the Supreme Court, they voted a certain way, and someone came out and testified under perjury, under like hand under God or something. He came out in a court saying that he heard the people behind the doors in the Supreme Court would not take the cases of whether or not Joe Biden would be a legitimate president because they didn't have riots. They didn't have riots because of something else. That they were literally denying the right for them to even hear about whether or not Joe Biden was a legitimate president because of how some states were handled their election process in an invalid way, bypassing their own constitutions to push a certain vote, a certain result out. So that would have made Joe Biden a very illegitimate president, making Donald Trump the default president because of how Joe Biden or the Democrats mismanaged, or some of the states mismanaged some of their voting process. They wouldn't even hear that because they had riots. The issue here is that in the culture right now, if you think that the government shouldn't be spending trillions of dollars, printing trillions of dollars, degrading the dollar that you have in your pocket away, in about a decade, it's going to be worth probably half as much. the purchasing power. It's backed by the oil that we are defending with the military overseas. It's by crude oil. That's the only reason why it's worth anything. If we remove the oil, the entire dollar goes. It's not backed by anything other than that, so we can print however much we want because we have all that power. And then Joe Biden's doing what he's doing with China right now and relaxing a lot of the issues that we've had over the years of intellectual copyright and stuff and all that copyright. Okay. Anyways, with Disney Plus ending 2020 with 95, I had to look this up, and you can go to Statista. It's a really weird website. I didn't even know this existed. I think I've been here 3 years ago, but Disney Plus numbers of subscribers worldwide from first quarter of 2021 to first quarter 2021. Wait, what? From first quarter 2021 to first quarter 2021. Isn't that a bit redundant? Anyways, we're ending at 94.9 million subscribers. And I think that's right. Yeah, worldwide. Million subscribers? Yeah. And with that many subscribers, there's a few articles that came out with Gina Carano no longer represented by United Talent Agency, IDPR, PR following firing from Disney and Lucasfilm. Gina Carano has officially been dropped by her representative of the agency and PR firm following her recently announced firing from Disney and Lucasfilm. We're getting a bunch of issues right now, a lot of backlash from both Disney and their audience. Disney is having, and the media and people around, I'm sort of going around the trails, we have a few more articles to get to. There's a lot of negative attraction to hating a feminine woman, and anybody who, again, if you are a MAGA supporter, therefore you're bigoted. You're just bigoted. That's like me saying, hey, you're liberal? Well, you're just a libtard. You're just stupid. No. It doesn't matter whether or not you have good justifications or reasonings within your policies. Maybe there's a different way that I'm not looking, or maybe the values that I have might be correct as you, but we're approaching it in a different way with different outcomes that we're that we're trying to achieve. When you say MAGA-bound loving bigot, it's like saying Joe Biden cucksucker. It's like, oh, that seems a little offensive. That seems a little weird. You want to be a little bit more biased in your article? So Star Wars gives muscle-bound, MAGA-loving bigot Gina Carano the boot. Twitter says finally. And then you have a whole slew of negative, I would say very, very petty people on this article giving reasons as to why they hate her. All the Star Wars dude bros complaining that Gina Carano has a right to be a bigot. Like, what are you talking about? You have the right to be a bigot. I honestly believe you have the right to be a bigot. Her being fired is not the issue. Her being fired and Pedro Pascal being promoted is the issue. They both posted harmful, disgusting, degrading tweets. But yet, Gina Carano being fired and Pedro Pascal is not is a double standard in Hollywood, not being male or female, but specifically of an ideology that you hold to be true about life. That's the issue. Personally, I think you should have a right to fire somebody based off her being very vocal on Twitter. But Pedro Pascal has done it as well, and he's getting promoted. If you're conservative or anywhere, if it's not even just conservative, if you call out the left, the current modern day left, not liberals, not classic liberals, modern liberals who believe that, a man and a woman are interchangeable, and a woman can do anything a man can do, but a man cannot do anything that a woman does, is idiotic by nature. It's hypocritical, if one might say. This. Oh, such a cuck. Anyway, so you have a bunch of people who are just going after her for the sake of, well, Gina Carano is a non-person. Let's move on, guys. Let's move on. Let's not talk about her anymore. You know what? I'd love to continue talking about her. Why? One, I have no issue with Gina Carano. She's calling out things. I'm not paying attention to her Twitter. If anything, I can just walk away from her contacts. I don't care. There's a bunch of people that are saying a bunch of bad things about me, probably. It's like, oh, you're a white man, therefore you're a problem in society. It's like, okay, I'm walking away. There's no need for me to contact or have any conversation with you. It's kind of ridiculous in a way. No, Gina Carano, no problem. The Mandalorian can easily survive without Cara Dune. Okay, that was like, with that title, I found it a bit interesting. Then I scrolled to the very bottom and I read this. Fortunately for Lucasfilm, The Mandalorian is also ended its season promising a narrative reset. The heroes succeeded in their mission of rescuing Baby Yoda from the evil Moff Gideon, whatever. And Luke Skywalker appeared to whisk Baby Yoda away for Jedi training. This storytelling decision meant The Mandalorian Season 3 has to start fresh, most likely turning its attention to the battle for Mandalore. While it would make sense for Cara Dune to be involved, losing her doesn't pose too many questions, especially if she's written off in a way where she's now doing unseen missions for the New Republic. By design, The Mandalorian made it possible for Gina Carano to leave without issue. To be honest, that is a very fair assessment. But the most hilarious part about this is, regardless of how neutral this is happening with this article, the other article was incredibly biased and very hate-filled, I agree. Now, I haven't read the entire article, but I just read the very ending. That summation is very true. If at any point that you are going to write off a character for whatever reason, you have to do it within the bounds of logic within the universe the story you're telling. It's the comments, it's the people that are attracted to this issue. If you are against Gina Carano, it really does show the type of character that you have. If you're for her, it shows the type of character that you have. Let's read the comment section in this one article, for example. Fat with no acting skill. I just want to be certain. You're calling a woman fat, and you're also calling a woman with no skill. But hey, you have no skill. What does that even mean? Hey, you're a woman, you're fat. Like, what? How does that help at all? It doesn't help at all. This person's a lowlife, this person is scum. The next one, agreed. Disney just proved the exact point her post was making. Which, I think I'm reading this in reverse order. 10 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 p.m. from 11. Yeah, I'm reading this in reverse order, so let's go from the very bottom. Can we just admit that every one of us has made controversial and offensive remarks at some point in their life, and then get back to reality? Every time we look at the news, there's a story about someone being banned and having to apologize for something they said. What? Only perfect people get to maintain regular employment and have normal lives? I got news for you. There are no perfect people. That's very true. Oh, man. Most of my Jewish relatives were murdered in the Nazi Holocaust. Gina Carano is absolutely correct in pointing out the similarities in the direction the U.S. is heading and early Nazi Germany. I would actually agree with that. I don't know if this is actually being fascist. I don't know if that's the correct word. Fascistic? Fascist. Flugious. Or being a parody or just making fun of it. But that's very true. I think in the current modern day, if you are a MAGA supporter, or more importantly, if you disagree with me, current modern day left, there's some people on the right that I have some issue with, specific people I would even have some issues with, but the current, again, who owns education? 90% of all professors within colleges are all left-wing. People who, what are the political stances of all people in high school? Well, one issue that I might get some blowback with is the majority of them are women. Men and women have different functions and different personalities, more importantly, different values, different things that we care about because of how we function inside of ourselves. Men are usually risk takers. Usually doesn't mean that they're exclusively, just usually. And women are usually safe-bound, which means that you're trying to find some security. Security with no man usually tends to go towards government. Having a need to have this connection and need for social connection usually goes towards socialism, usually goes towards communism, because you're giving government control and power over other people, and which means that you have to be the one that changes rather than being other people have to be the ones that change other than yourself, because if I'm the one that actually has to change, then I'm wrong, and being wrong feels uncomfortable. It's a vicious cycle, and it's one of those things of, yes, men need to be overarchingly the dominant force in society, because no, I'm not going to do that, is an often thing you will be hard pressed to tell a woman that, because A, everybody around her wants to sleep with the woman, and B, she's a woman, so everybody's protecting her. So anybody who disagrees with a woman overarchingly will have some backlash against them just because they're actually saying some truths that are very uncomfortable to say, which is why strong societies produce weak men, weak men because everything is easy, and then when weak men make hard times because their reflection, what was within themselves, goes out, and what they produce a hard society, a hard life. The hard life starts producing strong men because men have to overcome the issues, strong women as well, and strong men create strong societies. Strong societies usually create weak men because we have it so good in society. When I turn on the light, I didn't have to produce the electricity to turn on the light. All I had to do was exchange something that I was given from something else to another person, and I was given electricity. That's awesome. But guess what? There's lots of people who don't have access to that type of technology. Oh man, I live in the 1% type of life. And then this person, you're right, I completely forgot about the open murder of Republicans and conservatives in the street. Criticism about political beliefs is completely analogous to cultural genocide. Silly me. Again, it's whether it does. Again, what about the $2 billion of damages plus hundreds of people being harmed in the streets by Antifa and Black Lives Matter over the last 9 months? Last 9 months, it wiped away from history. And then what happens on the Capitol building, that's the only thing that people care about now. People are usually smart. The issue is that they have a goldfish memory. They only remember the last eight seconds. Oh, did you know that this happened? I'm going to hold on to that for the rest of my life. Well, what about the last 9 months? What about the last 4 years? The last 4 years, we've been hearing nothing but Donald Trump is an illegitimate president. Now that Joe Biden got into president, oh, he's only a legitimate president. So you disagreeing with that fact, you're an illegitimate person for disagreeing with how I believe in the world. Like, can I do that? No, because I believe that I'm correct. It's like, but wait a second. What? Who are you fighting against? There's literally nothing held by conservatives, anybody right-wing nowadays. There's very few conservative, I would say that small businesses are conservative-leaning, regardless of whether or not they vote that way, because you actually have to budget, you have to maintain a certain degree of principle, philosophy, direction. You have to know where you're going in 5 to 10 years. The people that you are paying, you have to be responsible for those people that you are hiring, rather than just this corporate conglomerate that if you know a person, you'll get hired, rather than you have to provide good work to somebody to get hired. So there has never been a better time to cancel Disney Plus. Agreed. Her profile as an actress is appealing to a specific audience and has its corresponding linguistic market. We can expect audio-visual projects that will enjoy the benefits of her presence. You know what? That's a very neutral way of looking at this. That has nothing to do with her, almost nothing to do with the article. You know, I have to, if that's your name, George, that was very neutral. I have to give you some props. So, kind of interesting. The Week in Nerd. Why is Disney ignoring Pedro Pascal's Nazi tweets after firing Gina Carano? Again, Gina Carano was posting some certain specific things, and the breaking point, this was one of her last tweets. Jews were beaten in the streets not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. You get to see in this little tweet is that there is a woman who has a bloodied face who is being beaten by children, and a person taking a photo of it. Imagine that. Somebody is taking a photo of a woman being beaten, and they're not stopping it. Especially back then, because guess what? You didn't have social media. The photo had to be developed and then sent to someplace. Nobody would have actually gotten reactions to this photo, meaning the person who's taking the photo is taking the photo of, I would say, because they're in favor of what's happening. They're not trying to stop it. Jews were beaten in the streets. That's crazy. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them for simply being Jews. How is that any different from hating somebody for their political views? And then she was fired because of that. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. There may have been other tweets that she has been very active on Twitter. And this is one of the last tweets that she had before we were publicly announced that, oh, okay, just this is enough. One of the things that they were planning behind the scenes is that they wanted to replace Gina Carano's character with another female character, I think. And I think they were already planning this to happen. Now that I said that article, now that I'm mentioning it, I don't think that this was the straw that hit the camel's back. I think they were planning this for over a few months. They just had to get some things underway to make certain that, we're going to start just transitioning you away. So once you get fired, we'll just move on with life. I just don't think that Disney Plus or Disney ever would think this would be the reaction to this thing. I think they were just thinking of, okay, we don't want to have this person who's talking about MAGA things because we know that MAGA things are evil and dumb and stupid or controversial. But if you post things that are liberal leaning or go socialism and communism, it's going to be more okay because the people who are in current power actually believe in that. So there's not going to be that much backlash, and they think that Twitter is real life. Well, they didn't realize that real life is real life. So, and what Pedro Pascal, what he posted was Germany in 1944 versus what's happening in today. Let's actually see when was that? 2018. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But at the same time, it's kind of not the same thing at all because I don't think human trafficking of sending children over, of having adults have a child, I'm going to get through here, this is my child. Is that really your child? I say it is, so therefore it is. But what if it's not? We need to prove that you are actually this person's father and/or mother, which most likely men, because the men are often perpetrators of things. Again, men and women, fundamentally different on a larger scope. Doesn't mean you're exclusive to that thing. Just men are more often likely to do certain things. Is it so far of a logical jump to say women are more likely to do certain things as well? Men have their negatives, women have their negatives. So, anyways, the best part about Pedro Pascal tweet making the rounds is the photos isn't of children in cages at the border. It's the Palestinian children waiting to be fed at a soup kitchen from 2010 during Obama's second term. Second term or first term? I think it was first term, from 2008 to 2012 and then 2012 to 2016. So it was first term. That's funny. That's hilarious. And again, the majority of people won't even look at it. Majority of people don't even care. And another post from Pedro Pascal is, again, that was misinformation from Pedro posting that. Why isn't he being fired as well from Gina Carano? Well, Gina Carano, I would say, calls out the left-wing bullshit, while Pedro Pascal encourages the left-wing bullshit because this is a lie. But Pedro Pascal, political association, therefore he's okay. Another social media post by Pascal is losers in 1865, losers in 1945, losers in 2020, Confederates, Nazis, MAGAs. So, white supremacies. Oh, you're a MAGA? Pfft, white supremacy. Oh, so crazy. Yep, and the Daily Wire. Disney when Gina Carano uses an analogy. Disney when Pedro Pascal uses an analogy. So... And Cody Knife, I'm sure Pedro Pascal is getting fired for comparing things to Nazi Germany too, right? Excuse me. To be fair, Nazi Germany, that's there. Okay, there it goes. There's Nazi Germany. Anyways, moving on to the next article is that conservatives start #Disney Plus campaign after Gina Carano fired off The Mandalorian. The biggest issue here is you have to make assertion, okay? Are conservatives rallying around Gina Carano because she's conservative? Or is it that she's been saying certain things, and the reason that Disney Plus fired her was because maybe she's been calling out the BS on the left, and she made her Twitter pronoun profile say beep, boop, bop, rather than he, her, his, she, sure, shoo, zizao, boo, blah, win, blah. So, yes, the majority of conservatives are coming to her defense. But the majority of people, right now, it's the majority of conservatives compared to liberals, whatever you want to define those two words with. How it started was with people who were in support of her allowing to say the things that she was saying, but Pedro Pascal, again, a double standard. Gina Carano being fired over saying things online, but Pedro Pascal being the leader of The Mandalorian is not being canceled. It has to come down to her politics. For me personally, I would be okay with somebody canceling another person for their politics. But the issue is that there is a double standard. One, for me personally, I don't care what your politics are. You can be, I don't care. Okay, the way that I said that first thing, what do I mean? Having the same standard for a cancellation is important. Meaning that if you post things in support of a certain presidential candidate, like The Rock did with Joe Biden, which was the most cuck thing to do, he's such a beta boy. Having muscles doesn't make you strong, dude. For once, I'm so proud of America. Really? Like, the one guy who's been in politics for literally a fifth of the entire nation's history, who hasn't done anything, but now he's gonna do it. Also, he's gone back on everything that he said in his campaign promises in the last 4 days, in the last few weeks. The first 4 days of his presidency in the last few weeks. I thought, when did he get in the office? Yeah, a few weeks ago. He's already gone back on everything. So, but again, but The Rock, good job on picking the right candidate because he's been in office for a fifth of the nation's history. I'm so glad you chose the person who's been in office, who knows how to game the system, to continue gaming the system for his children that you put the guy in office to do. It's so ridiculous. It's funny. In that regard. So, yes, conservatives are defending trying to defend like two thoughts in my head. Going back to defending, I think they have the right to fire somebody not from their politics. I misspoke. I was wrong. Construing two things together and I misspoke. Or I just shouldn't believe that you actually should be able to fire somebody over their politics. It's the same standard of what they do. If for the MMA fighters, the CEO, the owner of MMA, he allows any and all of his people to say whatever they want. All of them. It doesn't matter if they vote for if they're announcing Black Lives Matter is awesome or they say that MAGA is the best. It doesn't matter. He doesn't silence any of his people. That is admirable. What I would personally say is that, hey, if you get political for myself, this is my own personal, this isn't something that should be applied everywhere, this is me personally. If you get political under our roof, meaning we have a company, we're trying to produce, let's just say videos, we're trying to produce entertainment and media for other people. If you get political that is or not even contrary, if you get political on your own individual site and self, I don't care what you donate to, but you will not publicly go out for something. If you would like to, we will have to part ways because regardless of whether or not we disagree, the fans who look to us, I want it to be that we're going towards the same direction. I don't want there to be a division with our fans. So regardless of whether or not we agree or disagree with the current president, what are we creating for our fans? So that would be I would say a better stance if you were firing somebody because of them being political, not because of their political stance, but of being political online. What they say, what they share. Again, you can have a private conversation. If the private conversation goes public, that's a different thing. But if you publicly go out there and start making a stance, that's a different thing entirely. So, From the Pirates and Princesses, which is this is Clownfish TV on YouTube, and I highly recommend going and checking them out because they do a really good job on culture. But Pirates and Princesses, this is all about Disney-related topics. Disney executives reportedly shocked by Disney Plus cancellations. There are some really bizarre things going on at Disney today, and I'm looking forward to getting into them with you. I guess I should preface this by saying that the article you are reading will be somewhat based on rumors. Excuse me, I ate a lot of meat today. I ate a lot of chili because it's cold outside. I'm burping a lot, so I apologize. And I want to add to, yes, currently Disney is having a lot of... is still going through the process of dealing with all of these things. We won't know the full extent of what we see, of what we hear. We won't know the true thing until about 6 months from now. Because we can hear something, we can see something, but when time starts to continues to play out, that's when we'll start getting the truth of what happened 6 months ago. So again, we're not going to know the full story of this until much, much later. But this is the information that we have accessible to right now, and then we'll move, we'll shift, we'll change along the way. So, although you can take a look at my track record when it comes to these sort of things. After all, it was back in January that I reported the following to hundreds of thousands of Pirates and Princesses readers. This comes through the healers. So, this is a long article. I have to give them credit for what they posted. Good job on posting and writing this entire thing. I'm not going to take the time to read it. Please go read it in full context. Again, that's the Disney executives reportedly shocked by Disney Plus cancellations at Pirates and Princesses. I have had a difficulty of going to the actual article. If you just click on their Pirates and Princesses main page, you actually get to see it's in the top right-hand corner, or at least at the time that I'm recording this. So Disney executives reportedly shocked by Disney Plus cancellations. Lots of great information about Star Wars, specifically Star Wars information. And this is the last thing that I wanted to mention, is that there are some issues happening with Disney Plus behind the scenes. They have had a mass exodus with all the people that are removing themselves from Disney. There is a whole slew of people. It's one of those, the straw that breaks the camel's back. This isn't the one time that Disney has done something political. They are doing business with China, specifically the Chinese Communistic Party, and they do harm and not entrap people, but they do what's the name? Encampments. They put specific races and a specific race inside of an encampment. Anybody who's a political dissident will be taken from the individual into a van, into a location, and they can have their organs harvested. That is a thing. Again, you can like something without promoting what it is that they do. I'm okay with that level of, let's just say, ignorance. We're all ignorant about something. We all allow certain things to happen. But to attack somebody who may be choosing to ignore it is not really the approach here. I would say it's just sunlight is the best disinfectant. Instead of going after, quote, the fans, you punch up. You never punch down. Punch up. Punch the people at the very top that are doing the wrong things. Call out the crap that's happening. And here are the few channels that I found. Nerdrotic is a great channel for some content. He has been kind of upset over the last few years that all he loved to do over maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, he owned a comic book shop, and he was posting things about Game of Thrones and the stories of where they're going, some speculation. But over the last few years, we've really had an exponential increase of woke crap infesting and taking over entertainment that we love. It's an unfortunate thing. It really is. So, yeah, I love this guy. And Friday Night Tights, I love it. Overlord DVD. Even though I may not be a fan of his, I do support what he does. Yellow Flash 2. Again, these are just a few people. That Star Wars girl. Just some guy. And, oh yeah, that was it. Jesse Gender, I absolutely disagree with you when it comes to no, Gina Carano was not canceled. Downvote. Anyways, highly recommend that you go and check out her channel in that video just to see what I was talking about. Yes, she was canceled. Yes, it is a double standard. It's not just because of what she was posting on Twitter. It's that she was only targeted for what she was posting on Twitter because of her political stance and stuff. Anyways, thank you very much for being a part of this. Please go subscribe to those people's channels. Please post your comments, questions, and concerns right down below because I do want to hear from you. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button because that would greatly help this channel out, and you get to see more content along the way. And I'd love to give you, and I'd love for you to have some notifications of when I post things. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, because that's a thing that I wish all people had. Just enjoy the day. Enjoy the day. I got a ukulele. Thank you very much for being a part of this, and I'll see you next time. Beep.